Your past doesn't define you. How you rise above it does. Picture this. You've moved on. You've healed. You've outgrown the mistakes, the heartbreaks, the version of yourself you're no longer proud of. Life feels calmer, finally. Then suddenly, someone from your past, maybe a person you trusted, loved, or shared your deepest moments with, digs up an old chapter you thought was closed. They twist it like a knife and say, with a mix of pity and judgment, "Remember that? That's who you were." In that moment, your chest tightens, not because the past still hurts, but because someone is trying to use it against you. That's betrayal all over again. And what do most people do? We get angry. We defend ourselves. We explain and justify and try to prove we've changed. But the more we explain, the more power we give them over our emotions. A Stoic doesn't do that. A Stoic responds with calm strength, not emotion. Here are 3 Stoic responses to use when someone tries to weaponize your past. 1. Yes, that happened. The ego wants to deny, hide, or erase the past, but Stoicism teaches something different. Acceptance is freedom. So when someone says, "You failed at that job," "You acted badly back then," "You were a mess," you don't flinch. You don't justify. You don't explain. You simply say, "Yes, that happened." No excuses. No shame. No guilt. Why does this hit so hard? Because it steals the one thing they want most: your reaction. People who weaponize your past aren't looking for truth. They're looking for control. But when you accept your past calmly, their power disappears instantly. Example. They say, "Remember when you got fired for that mistake?" You answer, "Yes, and it taught me a lesson I needed." You disarm them completely. Once you're not ashamed of your past, no one can use it against you ever again. Seneca said it best. There is nothing more noble than admitting your faults and learning from them. Acceptance turns your past into something you own, not something that owns you. 2. I've learned from it. This line transforms your past into strength. Most people only see who you were. What they don't see is who you've become. Think of your past like a sword forged in fire. Every break, every scar, every mistake shaped you. Your cracks aren't weaknesses. They're where the light enters. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, a past that could have destroyed anyone. Yet he said, "True freedom begins within." So when someone says, "How can you talk about love when you failed in your relationship?" you reply, "Because I learned what love isn't and what it truly is." That's not defensiveness. That's wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Every obstacle is an opportunity to practice virtue." Use the past they try to shame you with as proof of your transformation. That's Stoicism. That's power. 3. Why are you bringing this up now? This is the line that collapses every manipulator. No anger, no attitude, just calm curiosity. When you ask this question, the control shifts instantly. They expected you to react emotionally, to defend, argue, or feel small. Instead, you ask them to explain their motives. Now they are the ones exposed. Now they have to reflect. Now they face their own intentions. Epictetus said, "Those who harm others are themselves in pain." People bring up your past because they can't face their own present. So when you calmly ask, "Why are you bringing this up now?" you've already won. You've removed yourself from the attack and held up a mirror to them. That's the moment the balance of power flips. Without raising your voice, without defending yourself, without losing your peace. Your calm becomes your armor. Your silence becomes your shield. Welcome to Part 4. The Power of Silence and Emotional Control. A Stoic knows one thing clearly. Silence isn't weakness. It's mastery. When someone tries to provoke you, every impulsive reaction becomes a gift you hand over. Seneca said it perfectly. The one who angers you conquers you. You might lose the argument, but you win in composure. You might not react, but you protect your peace. And in a world where everyone is shouting, debating, proving, the one who stays quiet holds the real power. Someone once told me, "You never react. People get intimidated by that." I smiled and replied, "I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm trying to stay at peace with myself." Because here's the truth. No one can drag you into the mud unless you choose to step down. Some people worry, what if they think something wrong about me? But ask yourself, if someone calls you a donkey, do you check a mirror? Of course not. You already know who you are. That's freedom. To know yourself deeply and not need external approval. If they bring up your old mistakes, smile. If they twist your past, stay calm. If they want a reaction, show them your stillness. You don't owe anyone an explanation for chapters you've already healed from. Marcus Aurelius said, "When someone behaves wrongly, it's because they don't know better. Teach through your actions, not your arguments." Sometimes the strongest response is maturity. When someone tries to define you by who you used to be, your present quietly reveals who they are. Because we all have older versions of ourselves, versions we've outgrown. You were once naive, once hurt, once flawed. But those moments forged your strength, your patience, your resilience. A man who fought addiction can now guide others. Someone who failed in business can now mentor a generation. Someone who was betrayed can now embody forgiveness. That is transformation. Not erasing your past, but turning the darkness into light. The Stoic conclusion. Freedom through acceptance. People bring up your past, not because you're weak, but because your growth reminds them of their own stagnation. Your rise becomes a mirror, and not everyone is ready to face their reflection. They don't attack because you are broken. They attack because you've healed. Your calm threatens their chaos. So remember these 3 things. Acknowledge your past without shame. Turn every mistake into a lesson, not a punishment. Ask questions instead of reacting. Let them see themselves in your calm. That's how a Stoic wins. Not through noise, not through defense, through dignity. You don't need to argue to prove you've changed. Those who truly know you never need proof, and those who don't want to understand, no explanation will ever be enough. One day someone will bring up your past again, and you'll smile, not in pride, not in pain, but in peace. Because you know, I am not what happened to me. I am how I rose from it. Real freedom isn't forgetting your past. It's being at peace even when you remember it. So if someone tries to drag you back into an old chapter, just smile and say, "Thank you, but I've already finished that part of the story." Then walk away calm, steady, untouchable, like a true Stoic. If this message touched you, share it. Let it reach someone still trapped in yesterday. And if you're walking this Stoic path, hit subscribe. Join this circle of calm minds and unbreakable spirits. Drop this in the comments as your reminder today. I've closed that chapter. My story moves forward.